I got enough. Hey, everybody, welcome into the Big Chief Show. I'm your host, Fred Davis, joined alongside my co-host, the one, the only, Mr. Bitter Mike Babbo, the one, the only.
Hey,
you've
gentlemen,
got,
how are you doing? Weekend.
well,
Sorry.
look, man, I mean, it's you are on the flip side of where I was at last Sunday. So last Sunday, the international folks got treated to, like real football when the Chiefs and Dolphins squared off. And it was a wonderful, I mean, there's no better way to start your Sunday than to watch your football team win a game. And then you got the rest of the day to do as you please. You, on the other hand, Mike Babbo, you and I are just talking about how, I wouldn't be surprised if Hamas decided to bomb Germany after watching what's going on today. Okay, maybe Hezbollah.
I don't think they have to bomb it, Fred. I think they just walk in because everybody in Germany will be like, "Screw this! This is ridiculous. If this is what professional sports is like, then I want no part of it." And they'll just like move over to France, and and Hezbollah can just walk right in.
I'll tell you what, it's Now my boy Ramondre Stevenson, would have been nice to see him in the red zone, considering that I've got him on my fantasy team. But hey, we digress. So no, Babbo is on the flip side of where I was at yesterday or last week. Like I said, I started off with the Chiefs, and then of course we had football all day. Whereas today, Mr. Babbo, you get to kind of simmer all day, like a crock pot. And, and look here, let's call it what it is. I mean, look, I know it's a Chiefs show, and we're going to talk about the Chiefs here in a little bit. But, we also talk a lot about the AFC West and what's going on there. But, you've got a legit excitement to watch your Raiders tonight. And look, we're going to get into the Raiders. We've got 6 games that we're going to talk about later on in the program. Obviously, Raiders-Jets is one of those games, but it's got to be a different feeling for you, Babbo, knowing that, I know you're always looking forward to the Raiders, but now, you're looking forward to it, and you should win tonight's game.
We should. We can get into this later, but
we will.
Yeah, and I know Raider Nation hasn't felt this good since the 2016 season. There's a lot of optimism in the air. Finally, we have a head coach for the longest time that has some passion, that has some pride, that
has a 6-0 sitting on Dayton's.
That's right. He's instilled a lot of passion, like I said, in the team, and they went out and they balled out. Granted, it was against the New York Giants. Granted, it was against the third-string quarterback, but it was a hell of a lot better than 2 weeks before, where they faced a Tyler Badgett, whatever his name was, and he had not even started an NFL game. Hell, he was a D2 quarterback, and he looked like Joe fucking Montana out there. And so that was the low point, and seeing Antonio Pierce's first head press conference, seeing him roll in to practice in his Chevy Impala lowrider was another high point. And he's got these guys playing inspired football. Let's hope they don't lay an egg on national television against a team. The worst 4-4 team in the NFL, I think, is the New York Jets. They need to win this game. They need to keep the momentum going, because they go on the road the next week. They play the Dolphins, a high-powered offense. Then they face the first time this year the Kansas City Chiefs. And let's face it, the Chiefs are still the class of the AFC West. They still are in the driver's seat for the AFC. And they have got to get some momentum. They've got to get some legitimacy. I'm certain that the players in that locker room are a lot looser. They are playing for Antonio Pierce's job to get that interim tag removed. By all accounts, Bo Hardigree, their new offensive coordinator, has done a phenomenal job of bonding with their rookie quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. And O'Connell needs to do what he did last week, which is take care of the rock, be efficient, and give the ball to his playmakers.
And I don't know, did I send you the reel of the time Antonio Pierce was the Howard Stern intern?
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
Was fucking hysterical.
And not only was it
Antonio
hysterical,
Pierce.
it was real, and he was blunt with his criticism. And that's all you want. That's all you want out of a head coach. That's all you want out of a leader. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. And don't stand up there in front like Josh McDaniels did, like a la what he did after the Bears game, and so, I don't think we were, I don't think we were overmatched. I think we're ready to play.
Don't talk about my Patriots like that. Don't you talk about New England like that.
Please.
It's like
anyway.
That's like Mike Babbo telling me, don't you talk about my San Francisco Giants like that.
But listen, getting back to the Chiefs, I know this is a Chiefs social. We need to get back to it. They're on a bye week. They're getting rested. And then they come off the bye week and they host the Eagles. And then they go on the road first against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then there should be a winnable game against the Green Bay Packers. Their biggest test the rest of the season. They got two, both of them thankfully at home, against the Buffalo Bills. And against in the week 17 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, both of them at home.
You got three, right? Because look, that Philly game coming back from the bye is going to be.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Now that being said, Philly's coming off their bye too, so I like the fact that both teams are coming off the bye, so we don't have to hear after the game, depending upon who wins and who loses. Oh wow, yeah, Chiefs are coming off a bye, and look, we're going to hear ad nauseum over the next week how good Andy Reid is coming off the bye, and rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
I think the one thing, and look, we're at this stage now. I think I mentioned this last Sunday, or I started to, my ADD brain. And look, folks, I'm finally out of the concussion protocol. I just want to let everybody know that. Went to the gym today. I'll tell you what, for anybody out there who is struggling in life, go exercise. Go exercise. It doesn't have to be for an hour. It doesn't have to be for, it doesn't have to be some ridiculous amount of time. I'll tell you what, your boy's been going through it the last couple of weeks after the accident, and going into the gym this morning, I saw some buddies of mine I hadn't seen in a few weeks, and just, getting a little lather going, wearing my Chiefs shirt to everybody. We're here in Houston, obviously. Texans fans are feeling some type of way, as they should. Okay, yeah. Because let's call it what it is. Real quick, when it comes to the Texans, okay, like you basically, everybody's already like lauding, and rightfully so. Oh, we finally got a franchise quarterback. Motherfucker, you just had a franchise quarterback 2 years ago. It just so happened that he was a fucking pervert, and it didn't end the way we thought it was going to end. Okay. Like, I just want to say, I had to get that off my chest. I'm tired of hearing Texans fans, everybody, we found ourselves a franchise quarterback. No, you found your second franchise quarterback because you just had one a few years ago, but obviously things happened and we all know how that turned out. But that being said, get out, get exercise, do your thing, let the blood flow and just feel better about yourself. That being said, I think moving forward with this Kansas City Chiefs team, with this offense the way it is, all right, because obviously we can't belabor the point that, okay, we need wide receivers because there's nothing to say anymore, Mike. Like, we know that. Like, we're, at this point, it's kind of like, fuck beating a dead horse. Like, now it's just obnoxious. Now it's just like, we get it, okay? So
now you just get over it and you just work with
you have to, right? You have to. And I'm going to be frustrated over these next few weeks, and we're going to say, look, this Philadelphia defense next week, as you know, Mike, and everybody watching this knows, like, you're talking about, you've got one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. You've got a defense that, even though they were a little shaky to start the season, now that they're finally, you're breaking a new OC, breaking in a new DC. That team, as you can tell, is finally starting to hit its stride a little bit. So, and oh, by the way, wide receiver is not an issue for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, it's
neither is their running game too. I mean, this team is 8-1 for a reason, though, Freddie. I mean, shoot, they are second in the league in points per game at 28. Yeah. But their defense is suspect. They're near the bottom in points allowed. But I mean, DeAndre Swift returns home, and he's playing very, very well. But you're right. I mean, between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and of course Jalen Hurts distributing the ball, they are going to be a problem.
Dallas Goedert was getting hot before he broke his arm.
That's right. This is going to be a tough go for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially with their offensive uh, struggles so far this year. But thankfully and surprisingly, the Chiefs are relying on that number one defense. Steve
Well,
Spagnuolo is. They have to. I mean,
They have. Look, they have no choice.
And it's at home too. So right against they're going to be at Arrowhead, Gia Field, whatever you want to call it. But I still call it Arrowhead Stadium. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
But so it's I think this is a winnable game. They just got to take care of the football, and just got to be a lot of Travis Kelce from Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes may have to do some running here too. So they have to keep that offensive pinball machine in Philadelphia on the sidelines. That's the key to victory.
I guess my thing is going to be moving forward is, like you said, you just accept the fact that you have no real receiving threat outside of Travis Kelce. Trust that you're going to have. I mean, look, the Chiefs' offense. This is essentially the Chiefs' offense until otherwise noted. You've got about 2 to 3 drives a game where the Chiefs' offense looks like the Chiefs' offense that we've become used to seeing, right? Like usually their opening drive is pretty good, and then they're usually good for a drive in like the third quarter, maybe the fourth, where they start to look halfway decent, even though the last 2 games they haven't scored points in the last 2 games in the second half. But the Dolphins, and you and I talked about this before the season even started. Like, the thing that we worried about with this team was, and we've been saying this, is, okay, if I'm a defense, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to double and damn near triple team Travis Kelce in some cases, because that's how bad the Chiefs receiving core is that's how little of a threat they pose. Because, look, Sky Moore ain't scaring anybody. MVS is who he is, okay? Rashee Rice, for as solid as he's been, he drops as many big throws as he catches. And then who else am I missing? Kadarius Toney, all right? Who we drank the Chiefs Kool-Aid, and Chiefs told us, oh, he's gonna be a number 1 receiver this year. We thought, okay, fuck it. If Brett Veach tells me that, if Andy Reid says that, if Pat Mahomes is gonna throw it to him, fuck it. Mike Babbo could be the number 1 receiver for all I know. If they tell me that, if Pat Mahomes likes it, I'm on board with it too. And then reality hits, okay? Then reality hits because, the beauty of a guy like a Pat Mahomes is, look, Mahomes can get the ball where it needs to go, but the problem is that, he still hasn't figured out how to throw to guys and have them catch passes when they're not open, okay? So when he can do that, then we know he's done something that no other NFL quarterback in the history of the NFL has ever done. So I think, Mike, you're going to see maybe a more concerted running game in the second half of the season.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon has to step up. Isaiah Pacheco has to step up. They need to commit more to the running game, right?
But how many attempts? But they've got to give them the chance, right?
Right, exactly. How many attempts do they have per game? No more than 20?
Total? I think he's only had. I think he had
I'm
like.
talking about collectively. Collectively.
Collectively. Yeah, exactly. Like, look, Pacheco's averaging somewhere between like 10 to 15 a game. Okay. And I think when he's got less than 10, in their 2 losses, he had 8 carries. Okay. So you're right. Pacheco is going to have to get the ball more. Jerick McKinnon's going to have to get the ball more. And, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go out and get a Leonard Fournette type or something like that, just for the simple fact that, look, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's a bum. All right. God bless him. I'm sure he's a nice human being. But I told you at the beginning I was nervous about him because he's got a hyphenated last name. And as is to be expected, okay.
You can't trust him. You can't trust him.
You can't trust anybody with a hyphenated last name. Okay. No. That's all I got on that. Hence Valdez-Scantling. Okay. So anyway, by the way, and then we got our boy. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is coming from Mr. Not very good. Take my relationship advice with a grain of salt type guy. This Travis Kelce Taylor Swift thing is getting serious. Like these two are like legit, like each other. Okay. My daughter's, Miriam's a Swiftie, so she's keeping me up to date on all the Swiftie stuff going on. And this one, look. This woman is changing lyrics in her songs about Travis Kelce.
Yeah, no longer is she writing about lousy relationships. right? And
Dude,
everybody
she's changing the lyrics on the fly.
Everybody has seen the video of her coming off the stage in her most recent concert.
Yes.
And there is an adoring Travis Kelce, resplendent in a looks like a Aloha Friday shirt, looking pretty good. But big smile on his face, and you could tell the genuine
those two like each other.
Excitement as she runs towards him. Not to get all Access Hollywood here, but there's some legitimate feelings going on there. That's fine. That's great. And you know what though? If I were Brett Beach, I would make sure that she shows up every single game, because the splits of his statistics between when she shows up and when she doesn't are striking.
They really are. They really are. Now, that being said, let's look at the game she's been at too, and who the opponent was. And oh, by the way, unless she's got adjustments that she can make offensively as to, how do we get away from them, bracketing and triple teaming them like they did in Miami. I mean, look, if Taylor Swift can bring that kind of adjustment and that kind of, headset to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, I'm on board. But here's the thing, dude, she's out. I mean, I want to say she's on this South American tour till the end of the year, which would mean we won't see her again till playoff time, which, let's call it what it is. I'm okay with that. I don't want to see Taylor Swift in Kansas City again until playoff time.
You want him focused.
Well, it's not that I don't want him. It's not that
you want it when it matters. You want there when it matters.
Look, I don't need Taylor Swift there against
Fred. You need her there for the Buffalo game. You need her there for the Cincinnati game. You guys need to go at least 1-1 on those two games, Mike, because you're fighting for supremacy in the AFC right now.
Mike, you're an economic guy. You know about the scarcity effect, okay? You know about the scarcity effect, okay? I don't want to overdo it. I'm a big believer in too much of a good thing is not good. Trust me,
Freddy, that ship has already sailed. That's already sailed, right? Because every time he does something great, she's in the booth, yakking it up with Brittany, doing their little,
Brittany. I mean, and then you got Brittany Mahomes, who is a spokesperson now for Kim Kardashian's brand.
Oh God.
All right. I mean, look, man, let me tell you right now, the Chiefs are crossing into dangerous Illuminati territory.
Right.
Okay.
Right. People are going to start to resent them.
No. I'm worried about the Illuminati becoming part of the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. If the Illuminati becomes part of the Chiefs, I'm out. I'm out. Okay. It's all fun and games until the Illuminati comes in. All right.
All right. Well, we'll worry about that week 11. All right, because they're on a bye. So let's worry about week 10 in the NFL. Okay. I cannot believe, Freddie D, we are already way more than halfway past the season. So let's talk about what's going on so far this half season, or so far this season.
What's been your biggest surprise? What's been? I'm gonna go refill my coffee cup. Tell the folks what is the big? Because I can still hear you. What's the big? And if anybody wants to chime in on the comments, please do. We'll read them out loud as we get them. Don't forget, real quick, before Mike gives us his surprise of the season so far, go follow at eSIM Studios. That's for our boy Tab, the brain behind the operation, and just the man with the master plan. So shout out to him for putting out the promo and all that good stuff. But go follow Chief Studios, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I do apologize. We've been a little lackadaisical here the last couple of weeks, but your boy's back. Out of the concussion protocol, and so we'll have a show. We'll be doing our show every Sunday and Wednesday. We might sprinkle in a little something else there too. We're also part of the Fans First Sports Network as well, so that's still that's still working and all that good stuff. So anyway, all that's done. We're done with all that nonsense. Be sure to follow at the Bitter Mike, at the Freddy D. Ready, go.
So really, I got two of them, and they're not pleasant surprises. They're kind of disappointments. Number one is I'm really surprised and disappointed on how Jordan Love in his first full year as a starter has regressed in Matt LaFleur's offense. Yeah. Granted, he doesn't have Aaron Jones. He's been out since week one or questionable since week one. And they've had to rely on A.J. Dillon, who's a backup for a reason. He doesn't have much in the way of a wide receiver core. Of course, no Devontae Adams. Christian Watson has been hurt most of the season, but I mean, he's thrown a lot of really bad interceptions, missed a lot of wide open receivers. It's just been really, I know the Detroit Lions are the class of the NFC North. But they should not be 3-5. I'm sorry, and especially the defense has not been playing that badly. Now, granted, he's had, and we can touch on this later. He's had offensive line. As a matter of fact, 3 of his offensive linemen are questionable this, including his center Myers. So that's a problem. But I'm just really surprised on how much he's regressed, considering all the reports that the last years ever since he drafted, how much he's looked at the pocket motion. So that's really a surprise. Number 2, for me, considering I was thinking, okay, why is Washington 3-5? And I was looking at the stats, like, well, I guess Eric Bieniemy's offense is really not clicking. That's not true. They're in the middle of the pack offensively in terms of points per game, so it's not so bad. Real
quick. Where are you at on Sam Howell?
I think he's got some talent. I think he's got some arm strength for sure.
You think he's the long-term answer, though?
I think he could be. I really do. Honestly, Fred, I mean, their defense is their problem. They're 29th in yards per play and second most in passing TVs, this Washington defense. And when you consider they had Jonathan Allen, they had Kendall Fuller in the back. They had, of course, David Mayon, of course, up until a couple of weeks ago, Chase Young. This defense should be a lot better. And Montez Sweat, right? He's the guy who also got traded. They just basically gave up on their defense, and I can see why, because they were just really, really underperforming so far this year. So, in a wide open, to me, a wide open, well, not wide open. I mean, of course.
Well, you could argue a wide open playoff spot, right?
A wide open playoff picture in the NFC for certain, because the Niners have come back down to earth. And now they're fighting for the division.
The Niners could lose today, and we're going to talk about
that.
They
could lose today. They definitely could lose today at Jacksonville. They're only, I believe, a 3-point favorite. We'll touch on that one later. But those are my 2 surprises this year. I think the pleasant surprise is how good Detroit's defense has turned it around. I know Aaron Glenn was on the hot seat in the middle of last year. They turned it around, but they are just playing at a seriously high level, especially offensively, considering they revamped their offensive backfield. No more DeAndre Swift. He's now in Philadelphia. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs have been splitting time. He's been a freak the last 3 weeks. He finally decided,
he hasn't been getting the ball more, but now that could be a situation.
He's starting to, though.
That's because Montgomery got hurt, right? But now on the flip side of that, you could say, all right, well, look, homeboy's going to have fresh legs come the end of the season, right? So that's and look, they're in play right now for a top 2 seed, 1 or 2 seed, if the NFC were to end today. Right. So, I mean, Detroit's in that mix. I mean, Detroit was one of those teams that you and I and Henry talked about at the beginning of the season about how, we knew the hype was there. We knew it was real. We knew the NFL thought highly of Detroit. I mean, you wouldn't have had Kansas City and then played week 1 to start your NFL season if you didn't think so. Outside of an ugly loss to Baltimore, they've looked pretty damn good all season long.
They've looked good. And here's a surprise stat for you, too. Sam Laporte has their tight end, their rookie tight end, has 5 touchdown receptions already.
Monster.
He's a beast. He's a monster. Because I'm on Ross A. Brown, has been not hot and cold, but he's been hurt.
Pretty solid, though.
But he's been solid when he's been healthy. But he's been hurt and banged up 2 or 3 weeks in a row. But he's been back.
Still had 100 yards, though.
Right. I know. But Sam Laporte has been a very nice surprise. They really love seeing what they see out of him. So good for Detroit. I think that's my one surprise. Yes, we expected good things from him. We expected him to take a step up, but not to this level. So those are my surprises, Freddie D. What about yours?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to say one of my surprises, and we're watching it right now unfold in front of us, is just the
ineptitude.
The ineptitude and just the overall state of the New England Patriots. For Bill Belichick to fall, I mean, look, this and I get it. Everybody's kind of dancing on his grave right now and is mocking him, and for a guy that ruled the NFL for 20 years and to see him struggle with the way this team has over the last couple of seasons. I mean, but they've done some really weird things. Like, so Mac Jones, I don't know if he's hurt or not, but they benched him for the last series just now. And so Bailey Zapp, who hasn't played all game, And you know, the thing about Mac was 15 to 20 for 171 yards. They bench him.
He threw a terrible interception in the red zone, though. He threw with like 4 minutes left in the game. Sorry to interrupt you, Freddie, but
okay, so I missed that.
He threw a
that
terrible underthrown ball into his receiver was all along the end zone, and it wasn't tipped or anything like that. It was just a terrible execution.
Well, then I'll tell you what, Bailey Zapp shouldn't feel much better because he just threw an interception.
He just threw an interception to blow the game.
Tell you what, who knew the AFC South was going to be so competitive all of a sudden? Because right now, the AFC South is suddenly a division worth watching. But real quick, Indianapolis Colts, they win the game 10-6 over the Patriots. Like I said, this is don't be surprised if the UN comes out and puts some sort of treaty against us and says, look, if you guys are gonna fucking bring your game, because let's call it what it is. Football is very much an American game. If you're gonna sit there, look, you guys said what you said about WMDs in Iraq. You've said what you've said about what's going on in Europe.
We're gonna invade you with cricket.
Right? Like you guys over here,
you bring us shitty football, we're gonna bring you cricket.
You guys sent billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel, and this is what you bring to the rest of the world? Is fucking Indy and New England? Come on, man, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the American culture is already fatty foods, Disneyland,
fatty foods, now this social media, and bad football like that. What are we doing here? Yeah. So yeah, the New England, the fall of Bill Belichick and just the demise of Bill Belichick has been kind of a surprise for me and kind of a sad one because again, and look, the thing is, and I've heard it all week that all right, well, if you're the Washington Commanders, because look, they're getting rid of Ron Rivera, and I'm surprised that you're surprised at the Washington Commanders, to be honest with you, but.
I just didn't. I thought that their defense would be a lot better. I mean, I didn't think.
I'm with you on that. Jack Del Rio is kind of a wacko too.
True.
I don't look. While you like Bill Belichick, at 71 years old, would you hire him to lead your franchise? Like, let's say the Chargers get rid of Brandon Staley. And he's one of the guys that's going to be on the hot seat. We know that. He's on the hot seat now. If they don't make the playoffs, I think it's pretty much a done deal that he's done. If you're the Chargers, you've got a quarterback, you've got pieces on offense, you've got pieces on defense. Would Bill Belichick be a guy that you would want for 3? Because, I mean, plus he's, like I said, he's 71, going to be 72 next year. I mean, how much football coaching does he have left? Because I think it's fair to ask how much – I mean – look, where's his fastball at right now? I mean, this team has been a disaster the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd hire him as my head coach, but I certainly probably, I mean, and he wouldn't do this. He wouldn't take a step back. I would certainly hire him as my defensive coordinator. I harken back to Jim Johnson, who was the legendary defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Dick LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau. I mean, those guys were coaching into their 70s. And like you said, Belichick is 71 now. But I think that he needs to ride off into the sunset. It's just amazing to me. That's another surprise when we found out 2 or 3 weeks ago that the Patriots and Robert and Jonathan Kraft, they signed him to an extension, a multi-year extension in this offseason. And now we're hearing reports that he may be out by the end of the year and whether to make a move now. They're not going to.
I think you have to. I think you have to. I think it's time.
I don't think they're going to do that to him, though, Fred. Not in the middle of the season.
No. I wouldn't fire him in the middle of the season. No. I would not. Look, he's done enough. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares, right? I mean, look,
right?
Because what, you're going to hand the reins over to Bill O'Brien for God's sakes? Like, really? Like, I mean, come on. Like, look, Bill Belichick is, it's. Coaches we don't think about how coaches go out typically, right? Like when we think about the great coaches, we don't really think about, Phil Jackson. We don't think about how, okay, like, are we really concerned that he was a disaster with the Knicks after he left LA? No, not really. Like, we don't care. I mean, no, I mean, I don't.
But that's, I mean, just the thing is that he can point towards. I mean, with basketball, you got 5 players on the court and they all touch the ball. But whereas with football, you had one guy and that was the GOAT. I mean, 7 Super Bowls. How many rings did he have? I mean, 5, 4, 5. But the thing is that since then, all of his assist and also his assistants, they've gone on and they've flamed out miserably. Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia, Romeo Crennel, Josh McDaniels, all of them have been absolutely terrible head coaches. The only one that we can point to who was decent was Mike Vrabel, and he wasn't an assistant with Bill Belichick. Whereas we can absolutely point towards the demise of the Patriots to the exit of one Tom Brady. Since then,
well, they did. Look,
this year,
they did make the playoffs after.
They did. I mean, they were 10-7 his first year, but since Tom Brady has left, he's gone 25-25.
But my thing is this: how much of that is on the franchise as a whole? Because look, the thing about it, when you have a great quarterback, as you know, it helps lift the entire franchise, right? Like every, what is it? High tide raises all boats. And we're seeing now the same problem because look, the Patriots defense isn't bad. Like the Patriots have a top 10, top 15 defense, right? Like their defense is legit, but you've got Juju, who's been a disaster. You've got Mac Jones, who's been more or less a disaster. You've got, Kendrick Bourne was playing okay before he blew out his ACL. All right. I mean, you don't have, the same reason why Tom Brady left was he was pissed off because guess what? You guys didn't put enough pieces around me. Well, what's the problem? If you really get down to the nuts and bolts of what's wrong with the Patriots right now, guess what? There aren't enough pieces around Mac Jones. And you've screwed him around because you've given him 4 offensive coordinators in the last 4 years. But
then that goes to the head coach. That goes to the system that he's bringing in.
Exactly.
Right? Because listen, we can go back 30, 40 years into the godfather of the offensive system, and that's Bill Walsh. And his coaching tree goes, again, 40 years. And his coaching system, especially his offensive system, has stood the test of time. Whereas the Patriot way, when they have tried to do it in other places, has been an epic fail. All right. And here, now that granted, he's lost a lot of offensive systems, but he's also lost that, that one guy who preached that system. Do your job. And it's not working. I'm going
to say something here, and this may sound ridiculous, but I'm okay with saying it. I would argue him losing Nick Caserio was a bigger blow than him losing Tom Brady.
Well, you've got to build a roster, and
that's what I'm saying. And I think, Bill Belichick knew that, and look, we've seen Caserio's a different dude. Okay, like even here in Houston, like you listen to that dude's press conferences, you listen to him talking, like just look at the way he looks into the camera. Okay, like the dude doesn't blink. Like it's bizarre. All right, like the way he talks, the way he looks. Like it's almost like, okay, like is this dude some sort of? I don't know what an android is, but isn't that like one of those like creatures or something like that from like Star Trek or Star Wars or something like that? Like that's kind of the vibe he gives you, Nick Caserio.
Who was the Jets head coach who did that?
Adam Gase, when he was all okay, yeah, exactly. Although I think cocaine might have been what was his downfall.
All right. Anyway, we talked enough about the Patriots. We got a half an hour before we lose 90% of our audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just say this real quick. So just it's the surprise, and on the flip side of that, I'll say my last surprise is the Texans. I am surprised at how well CJ Stroud has played. I am surprised at how well this team has played, and although I am extremely happy for how they're playing. All right, real quick, midseason awards, and just kind of this is kind of you and I's just kind of where are things at midway through. Real quick, my coach of the year, and I'm just going to go ahead and piggyback off of what I just said. Actually, I'll go ahead and give you my rookie of the year, or offensive rookie of the year, and my coach of the year, because they both dovetail with what I just said about the Texans. DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the year through 9 games. I get it. There's going to be a lot more football left to be played, but I'm just going to say this, and you know this being in San Antonio, all right? The Texans have been a laughing stock for the last 3 years. We already mentioned about what happened with Deshaun Watson. Everybody knows that story. There's no need to tell it now. For where that team was, and being here in Houston, and you being 2 hours away, and you have friends in Houston, and you and I talk, and you talk to people that are Houston Texans fans, people were so down and out on the Houston Texans a year ago. Fans, the city, everybody.
Yeah.
And now here they are with a chance today, which a legit chance to beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, because guess what? They have no T. Higgins. I don't know if Jamar Chase is out yet or not.
He was listed as active. He is listed as active late, but we just don't know how.
We don't know how effective
he's going to be, right?
Yeah. Now that being said, if he's out there, I gotta believe he's gonna do his thing. But at the very least, I think the Texans have a puncher's chance of winning today's game.
Sure.
Which, if you just said at the beginning of the year, we probably would have laughed and said, "That's a cakewalk for the Bengals." Not so, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. I think the Texans, at the very least, I think the Texans cover the spread. I don't know if they win, but I think they do cover the spread. But that being said, D'Amico Ryans is my head coach of the year through 9 games, and C.J. Stroud is my offensive rookie of the year through 9 games.
Okay, perfect. I agree with you on both counts. I would like to give you a couple of dark horse candidates. I think Bijan Robinson has not been given the ball enough.
100%.
Atlanta,
100%.
right? And he is a beast when he gets the rock. He needs at least 20 to 22, 23 carries a game. And so I think, if he's given the opportunity, he could give C.J. Stroud a run for his money. But the way Stroud has played with a mediocre offensive line, for certain, Nico Collins is out this week, and so he hasn't really had a number one wideout consistently. My coach of the year, I like the choice of D'Amico Ryans, especially as a first-year head coach. This is his first year, right? First year. A dark horse candidate is Kevin O'Connell. After a slow start, the Vikings have won 4 in a row. Their defense has really picked it up. They've allowed only 17 points per game in that 4-game winning stretch, including a thrilling win over the Atlanta Falcons with a quarterback who they picked up in a trade just 2 days before. The guy didn't know half the guys in the offensive huddle. He had no chance to even practice with a team. All he had the opportunity was to read the playbook. And of course, and he wasn't even supposed to start. Jalen Hill, I think that was his name, was the quarterback. He got hurt. Here comes Joshua Dobbs, and he leads them from the brink of it, and in a thrilling victory. And so, considering the Vikings' woes in the last quarter, and of course the last couple of series of each game, they've really been shit in the bed when it comes to managing the clock in some of those early season losses. I think they've really righted the ship. So Kevin O'Connell has a chance to be coach of the year as well. But I think you're right. I think D'Amico Ryans to lose. So
given how much you loathe and despise the Minnesota, everything about that is stunning to me that would be your choice. Defensive rookie of the year, I'm gonna go with Jalen Carter. I get it, everybody. I mean, he had a lot of baggage coming into the draft. I thought the Texans should have taken him 3rd overall.
I think the Raiders should have taken him too instead of freaking Tyree Wilson.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was there.
Yeah. The fact that he dropped, and I get it, everybody was worried about it, but at the end of the day, and I get it, people lost their lives over it, but that wasn't going to change the fact that he was still going to get drafted. He was still going to play football, and he may be lighter in the wallet because of the civil trial later on down the line, but he was still going to play football. I don't care what anybody says. He drops to the Eagles, and he just adds. He's been a freak. He's got 4 sacks already. He's just been an absolute freak of an athlete, and so Jalen Carter is my defensive rookie of the year. And of course, big shout out to Will Anderson too. He's playing good football. And of course, it could be, this thing is going to go down to the wire when it's all said and done. My offensive player of the year for the NFL is going to be Tyreek Hill. This guy's having a monster year. He's well on his way to 2,000 yards, barring an injury or some, couple clunker performances. He's going to continue that. And then my defensive player of the year is none other than your own one, Mr. Max Crosby, 9.5 sacks. But what the real kind of jump off for me is that this guy's got almost 60 tackles on the season as well from the DN position. It's one thing to be a pass rusher, and we expect we expect the hurries, we expect the hits, we expect the sacks, but to double it up with tackles as well, which tells me not only are you getting to the quarterback, but you're being effective against the run as well.
So 2 stats for you. And first of all, I'll agree with you on Jalen Carter. I think Will Anderson might, considering depending upon how the Texans play on defense. And by the way, their defense surprisingly has been absolutely solid this year. Tyreek Hill, I'm all for that. Jalen Hurts, I think, might be my sleeper pick for offensive player of the year. Max Crosby, here, I'm going to give you 2 crazy stats. Number 1, he's facing 2.5 blockers a play. That means he's double or triple teamed. Number 2, he has not missed a snap. He's played every single snap.
Yeah.
In 9 games.
He's the Raiders of Raiders.
He is the Raider. And so he just has to get just a little bit of help. Just a little bit of help from first round pick Tyree Wilson. We know, what happened with Chandler Jones, another solid get by Josh McDaniels and company. But anyway, I don't want to get up. But yeah, Max Crosby, I don't want to hear about Joey Bosa. I don't want to hear about TJ Watt. I mean, they're not facing the double teams like Max Crosby is. He's not getting held. I mean, no one is getting held as much as Max Crosby is. They can throw a flag.
Maybe Myles Garrett.
Maybe Myles. Yeah. I mean, so who's your MVP, Freddie D?
Oh man. Look, I'm a homer. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Okay. Look.
Someone who doesn't wear 15 on their jersey. Okay, come on.
If you took away Pat Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs,
they'd be shit.
They'd be a sub 500 team. They'd be a sub 500 team without Pat Mahomes.
They'd be 4 and 5 right now. Yeah.
If you gave this receiving core to anybody else, okay? This dude has 2,400 yards and he's throwing to MVS. Sky Moore, look, he's throwing to Travis Kelce and the Pips, okay? That's who he's throwing to, all right? He's ran for almost 300 yards this season, okay? He's extending plays with his feet. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. You can have your Jalen Hurts. You can have your, insert quarterback name here. I don't care. You can put in your Tuas. You can put in your whoever, your Joe Burrows. I don't give a shit, okay? Because, look, I don't want to hear about Tua, okay? I don't want to hear about Tua because you got Tyreek.
No, because their record against teams with winning record, they're 0-3.
Here's the deal. Tua was shit before Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, okay? Guess what? He's playing extremely good football because he's got extremely good receivers, and you know what? I'm happy for him. And you know what? I don't think Tua gets enough credit. And you know what? One of my other surprises is, real quick, the fact that because this dude was a walking concussion last year, and then guess what? When they give that guy time, it's amazing what happens. Now, like you said, he's 0-3 against teams with winning records. We'll see what happens in the second half of the season. But hats off to Tua for being healthy this year. Jalen Hurts, hey, I ain't mad at you. 2,300 yards, whatever it is, and again, probably in the top 3 conversation. But guess what? You've got not one, but 2 number 1 wide receivers. Okay, you've got a top 5 tight end. All right. And again, these are all things that you're supposed to have when you're a top-notch football team. And this is what happens with MVPs. I would challenge anybody to have that same receiving core that the Chiefs have and put up the numbers he's had. Pat Mahomes, MVP. Boom. Book it. Take it to the bank.
One of our favorite lines in the movie, from one of our favorite movies. Well, allow me to retort.
Allow you to retort.
I got one in the NFC and I got one in the AFC. NFC, Christian McCaffrey, running back for the San Francisco 49ers.
He's hurt, though.
No, he's not. He's been healthy the entire season.
He
did go out one game with an oblique strain. I think in the second half of the season.
I would argue he's not even the MVP of his own team.
I disagree. First of all, Deebo Samuel's been hurt, although he's expected.
That's my point. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I understand, but so that means that more focus is going to be on Christian McCaffrey, and he has scored a touchdown in 17 straight weeks, Freddie D. There's a lot to be said for that, okay? Everybody knows that he's getting the ball. He gets the ball out of the backfield, running, passing, and he catches everything thrown to him. So, again, on the AFC, Lamar Jackson, 71.5% of his completion, 14 touchdowns, and best of all, only 3 – count them 3 picks. That's it. He's
They've
playing great
been-
football. And
argue
considering
that
how
they're in
I poo-pooed him at the start of the season. I said, he's not all that, blah, blah.
No, we all
You know
did.
what? I mean, they're the best team in football right now. Sorry. Freddie,
No, they
I
are.
think-
No. I give
mean,
you.
they
I give
are-
you that. Look, they've got a better run game than the Chiefs.
They're number one in defense in points allowed, and they're like they're number 3 in offense. But Lamar Jackson is playing out of his freaking mind. Granted, he's got an
playing like the
excellent
MVP
offense.
that he was a few years ago.
Exactly. So those are my 2 MVP candidates.
All right.
So, all right.
So Babbo goes with not one, but he went by conference as to who he liked on that front. So shout out to
Keep
him.
me on
All
your
right.
toes, Freddy.
We've got about we're coming up on it, so we'll start making this quick because, like you said, game to kick off here in 20 minutes, and I got to look at my fantasy schedule one more time before we kick off. All right, real quick. San Francisco, Jacksonville. You just mentioned San Francisco 49ers. Trent Williams is back in the lineup, is he not? He was back last week, wasn't he?
He is. He's questionable. He's a game time decision.
Okay.
But more importantly, their offensive guard, Aaron Banks, is out. So their whole left side of the line is iffy right now. They've lost 3 straight, as we all know. Both teams are coming off a bye here. Freddie D. The biggest
Trent
issue
Williams is active, by the way.
He is active. Okay, so that's a huge upgrade. I mean, that's huge for them.
No, absolutely.
But their biggest issue right now is their turnovers as of late. I mean, they've in seven turnovers in their 3 losses, including 3 picks by quarterback Brock Purdy, who had only 1 in that 5-game winning streak to start the season. So the defense also has been an issue too. They've allowed almost 400 total yards in each of those last 3 losses. Against Dallas in Week 5, they sacked Dak Prescott 4 times, and they got 4 turnovers. But in the last 3 weeks, they've only had 8 sacks total and 4 turnovers total in defense. So they've got to step it up against the Jacksonville team. Really, they've won their last 5, and they are first in the AFC South. They're in the driver's seat. They're top 10 both offensively and defensively, and Trevor Lawrence has been taking care of the ball for the most part as of late. 68% of his passes he's completed with 9 touchdowns. So he's done pretty well. Christian Kirk has been a nice surprise. Jacksonville is a 3-point dog at home. That's a tough one though, Freddie. I don't know how you see it. I think the Niners actually squeak out a victory here because the Jacksonville offense has been very inconsistent. They've been winning with their defense.
No, they have been. But that being said, look, they've got your boy Zay Jones. He's out again, as you alluded to. He's out. But other than that, man, I mean, Angelo Blackson's out. But other than that, I mean, for the most part, they're in pretty good shape health-wise. Look, I think it's going to come down to I think you're right. Can they stop Travis Etienne? All right, who has been an absolute, we talk about surprise. I think one of the surprises we forgot to mention was Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne has been a monster this season, especially considering everybody, he got kind of clowned last year because he was hurt. And everybody, he's Trevor's
too small.
Teammate, blah blah blah. Well, I'll tell you what, have you seen him this year? And I've got him on one of my fantasy teams. Travis Etienne, give me that all day, every day. Let me look at the spreads real quick before we let's see.
I've got him for you, Freddie. I got him for you.
Who do you have? What's the spread in this game?
Jacksonville +3 at home.
I'd take it.
Yeah,
This is a statement game for Jacksonville. Okay.
Yes.
This is one of those games where, all right, San Francisco has been there, done that. Right, and they're fighting to kind of get their season back on track again. So if San Francisco wins today, it's one of those deals where they flew across the country, they did what they were supposed to do, and now all of a sudden San Francisco's back in the mix again. Everybody's they're back to being a front runner again.
Right.
If Jacksonville loses, then it's this is still Jacksonville. This is kind of what we expected. They're not ready for prime time yet, and that's what they're going to fight. If they win this game, though, then it's okay. Now this is a team that you've got to take serious in the AFC all of a sudden. Jacksonville is fighting for AFC legitimacy and credibility today. If you win, now all of a sudden you can be taken seriously. If you lose, well, it's Jacksonville. They're a nice story, but you play in a shitty division and you're probably going to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. That being said, give me Jacksonville to win today. What say you?
No, I think the Niners win in a squeaker. I really think that they're coming on. They're healthy. They got Deebo Samuel back. They got Trent Williams back. But Brock, rookie quarterback, I'm a rookie still. He's to take care of the ball. He's thrown 2 interceptions in 3 weeks, and he needs to give the ball to his playmaker. This has been also, like I said, they've been very good for weeks, and so they really shore up that defense. So
yeah, I think your headphone. You might want to like start and stop or reset your headphones real quick. They're clicking a little bit, and you're going in and out. We're
okay.
missing some hot Mike Baboisms right here because your technology is letting you down. All right, while he's fixing his mic, I will we'll move on to the next game. Cleveland, Baltimore. Mike's already touched on Baltimore a little bit as far as what they've been able to do, and he talked a little bit about Lamar Jackson. This is a game this is a game where, for me, if I'm Baltimore, I expect Baltimore to win this game. That being said, if you're Cleveland, this is one of those. This kind of goes back to what we said already about San Francisco, Jacksonville, and that you've got one team that's trying to break through. You've got another team that's trying to get off the schneid. Baltimore, we know who they are. We think they're the best team in the AFC right now. No offense to the Kansas City Chiefs, but let's call it what it is, top to bottom. Let's give Baltimore a little bit of love. I think Baltimore wins this game today, but if Cleveland does win, it is a division game. Cleveland's been great. Their defense has been, well, let's put it this way. Their defense has been great. Offensively, they've left a lot to be desired. I think we all know Deshaun Watson has not lived up anywhere near to the $250 million contract. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're saying to yourself, this is not what we signed up for. But he has shown flashes this year, especially the last couple games. Hasn't shown anywhere near of what the guy he was in Houston. To me, like I said already, if a win today would do the same thing for Cleveland that a win for Jacksonville would do for Jacksonville. However, I still think Baltimore finds a way to get it done today.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a Baltimore Ravens.
Plus, that game's in Baltimore.
Right. First of all, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, perfect. So Cleveland's won 3 of the last 4, including a 27-0 shutout of the hapless Arizona Cardinals. Deshaun Watson makes his second start since coming back from injury. Last week, he wasn't too bad, 19 of 30, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the Browns are also pretty much the healthiest team in the NFL with only 1 starter listed on the injury report. That's their defensive back, Greg Newsome. He's questionable with a groin injury, but they are facing the hottest team in the NFL and the best team in the NFL in Baltimore. In Baltimore, that is a raucous crowd. They're number 1 in defense and yards per play, in TDs allowed, and also in sacks and in red zone percentage. So Baltimore's defense is the class of the NFL. Offensively, they're 6th in points scored, and they're winners of their last 4 as well. We've talked about Lamar Jackson and how he's having an MVP-like season. Gus Edwards, their running back, who has emerged, he is on fire. He scored 5 rushing touchdowns in his last 2 games. Baltimore's also relatively healthy. They only got 1 starter on each side of the ball listed as questionable. Right tackle Morgan Moses and cornerback Marlon Humphrey. They are both listed as questionable, like I said, but Marlon Humphrey has been cleared to play, so that's good news for them. I think Baltimore covers here, especially at home. Yeah. The Browns' offense is just a little bit too inconsistent for me, especially with Deshaun Watson.
It starts with Deshaun.
It starts with Deshaun.
Right?
You know, I mean, their number 2 wide receiver is I can't remember his name. He's Elijah Moore. Big deal, you know. If you don't get the ball to Amari Cooper, then you're kind of hurt. Of course, they're really hurt at running back for certain. So I think Baltimore going away.
All right, I like that. So you and I are both in cahoots on that. We both like Baltimore. All right, real quick, we'll start rapid fire in this. Pittsburgh at Green Bay. The only reason I put this game is because Mike Babbo, is the biggest Pittsburgh fan outside of Pittsburgh. Actually, he's already mentioned how disappointed he is with our boy Jordan Love, to the point where he is ready to kick all Green Bay fans to the curb. That being said, your biggest takeaway, though, Mike Babbo, was the fact that you were surprised that Green Bay is only a 3.5-point favorite. Excuse me, that Pittsburgh's only a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, and earlier they were only a 3-point favorite, and I jumped all over that earlier this week. I mean, I definitely took Pittsburgh. I mean, Green Bay lost 4 in a row before they beat the hapless Rams 20-3. Their offense is bottom tier at only 20 points per game. Jordan Love, we talked about already. This week is no exception. As far as his O-line injuries, 3 starters on the O-line, all questionable, including his center, the the coverage, the blocking scheme caller, Josh Myers. Pittsburgh, we know they have a solid D. If they can just get their 29th ranked offense going, if they can figure out, finally give the ball to Jalen Warren, the undrafted rookie out of Oklahoma State, give him the ball. I'm sorry, I love Najee Harris. He's on my fantasy team, but he's just not doing it this year.
He's just been hit or miss. So you like Pittsburgh?
And now, finally, they got Deontay Johnson. This is his second week back. I know George Pickens is disgruntled. He said, I need the ball more, but true to form, his head coach said he's right. He's not wrong. So
not worried.
But they're near the bottom in total touchdowns. Only 3 rushing touchdowns all season, Freddie D. Their only bright spot for Matt Canada's offense is that they've only turned the ball over 8 times this year. So Minka Fitzpatrick remains out, but Cam Hayward is back for a second straight game. The Steelers should dominate this game. I mean, I don't see any reason why they should just win this game going away.
Cam Hayward, a Henry Thomas disciple, 2 years ago had his best season ever after working out with our boy Henry Thomas, friend of the program, during the offseason. All right, you and I are both in cahoots on this as well. We both like Pittsburgh to beat Green Bay going away. And, of course, that is a game that is at Pittsburgh. So I'm with you. Why they're only a 3.5-point favorite at home. A little bit shocking, but, hey, stranger things have happened. All right, Cincinnati-Houston. That game's at Cincinnati. We touched on that a little bit earlier. A couple things, though, real quick. They are without, as you alluded to, he's without Nico Collins. They got a few inactives. Brevin Jordan's out as well, but Dalton Schultz been playing pretty good football here as of late. You do have Robert Woods, and then of course you got Noah Brown, if I'm not mistaken, who had a pretty big game last week. That being said, this guy's been in the league 5 years, and I didn't even know who he was until last week. So take that for what it's worth. But that being said, the spread for this game is
-6.
-6. Give me Houston to cover the spread. Give me Cincinnati to win the football game.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans pull out an upset victory here because, like we talked about, even though Cincinnati's offense has been getting a lot better as of late, they're missing T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. We don't know how good he's going to be. Also on the defensive end, their defensive tackle Josh Tupou is doubtful with a shoulder injury. Cincinnati's defense is bend, don't break. They're allowing the second most yards per play, but they're also forcing 15 turnovers, which is the 4th most in the NFL. There's Robert Woods is questionable though for the Texans, and so is quarterback Steven Nelson. But with CJ Stroud, all things are possible. So we'll see what happens. And I don't know why. I'm just going out on a limb here, and I think that they actually pull up an upset. It's you know what? It's going to be who has the ball last.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Okay, you just took the words right out of my mouth, and I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what I was just getting ready to say. That this game gives me all the vibes of it's going to be nip tuck throughout the entire game. But that being said, I think this game reminds me of the Carolina game, and it reminds me of the Atlanta game, where the Texans are going to make do some goofy shit in the first half. You're going to be sitting there you're scratching your head going, okay, what the fuck is going on here? They're going to get it together in the second, but you're going to leave they take the lead late, but they give too much. They give our boy Joey B too much time. He's going to work a drive down the field, and Ella McPherson or whatever the fuck his name is going to kick a field goal at the end. And I could see them losing a la the way they did to both Carolina and Atlanta, because that's the kind of season that you have to have sometimes, Mike Babbo, where, they finish 8-9 or 7-10. And then you look at some of those losses and you say, okay, well, we lost 4 or 5 games by a possession or less. And that's one of those things that we talk about in the offseason. And then, those are the games that they win next year. So I like Cincinnati to win, but not cover the spread. Okay. 2 games left, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Denver, Buffalo. We'll save your Jets and Raiders for the very end. Denver, Buffalo. That's the last game of the week. That's on Sunday night. That's on Monday Night Football. I'm going to make the declaration right now, Mike Babbo. Book it, and we didn't even get to our hot seat rankings. We'll save that for Wednesday because actually that might even make more. It might actually be better.
Make more sense after this week. Right?
I've got my top 5 from today. And we'll see, and we'll compare how they look after today's games. And so make yours as well. One of my one of mine that was on there, I'm sure, I don't know if you looked at my list.
I did.
Okay. One of mine on there. Okay. And you and I talked about this a couple days ago when we were talking about the whole Michigan thing going on with our boy Jim Harbaugh. Denver, what's the spread for Sunday's game?
I believe it's 7. Yeah, Buffalo -7.
Not only does Denver cover, Denver wins outright. Okay? Not only does Denver cover, which, by the way, this is the same show that predicted back in August that the Chiefs would lose in Denver. Okay? And everybody thought I was crazy. And everybody said, you're an idiot, da-da-da-da. Hell, my own son made fun of me, which, again, you having a child.
That's what sons do, right?
Your kid's making fun of you is not really, it's not like that's
Get in line, Freddy.
That's part of the gig, right? Especially when they're teenagers. But not only do the Broncos win Monday night, but Sean McDermott goes to number 3 on the hot seat ranking after they lose to the Broncos on Monday night.
Well, they are 5-4. I get it, but they are undefeated at home, and so this game is at home.
It is.
The defense for the Broncos has played a lot better of late, especially, allowing only 15 points per game. They've won 2 of the last 3. They are coming off a bye as well. The offense, though, you touched on this earlier in one of our conversations, I think yesterday. The offense is starting to buy into Sean Payton's system pretty deep. Quarterback Russell Wilson has completed 66% of his passes. He's only thrown 4 interceptions, and 2 of them were in the KC game, Week 5 at Arrowhead. So really, he's taking care of the ball a lot better this year than last year. The Bills, though, are at home where they will thrive. They do thrive. They're undefeated, like I said. The only home loss was really in London, so I don't even count that. Stephon Diggs is going to play. I see Denver giving Buffalo a problem, especially if they hold down Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. The interesting stat here, Freddie D, is Buffalo is -6 in the turnover battle in the last 6 games. So if Denver can win the turnover battle, they've got a puncher's chance in coming away with a huge upset loss, and then elevating Sean McDermott, turning up the heat, bringing him to the front burner, whatever cliche you want.
So what are you telling me? What are you telling me? You're telling me I'm hearing a lot of stats.
I'm telling you that aside from all that, Buffalo wins in a squeaker. They do not cover the spread, but they win.
Okay, so you like Denver to cover the spread.
Yep.
But you're just not there enough to say they win the game outright.
No,
that's fair.
I still don't have the faith in Russell Wilson to win you a game yet.
Fair enough. All right. Last but certainly not least, and we're about 4 minutes away from kickoff, so we'll make this quick. You talked already about how much different the vibe is, and how it's, like I said, your boy Antonio Pierce has brought a enthusiasm to the Raider culture that is indeed the Raider culture. That being said, look, you got a Jets team. Look, you've got the one thing the Jets do well is play defense. Right? Like, we do know that Jets defense is one of the best in the NFL, and it's a shame that they don't have a legit offense, because this team would probably be 7-2 or somewhere in that ballpark right now. Unfortunately, they're not. That being said, I like this game's in Vegas, or is this game in New York?
It's in Vegas, and the Jets are a 1-point underdog.
Okay. So it's a push, basically. Give me the Raiders. This is one of those games where if this was Josh McDaniels, would be saying the Jets all day, every day. But this is a big contest. This is a big measuring stick for our boy, Mr. Antonio Pierce, because again, this is the kind of game where in the past the Raiders would have lost. The Raiders would have been embarrassed, and then we'd go back to the whole drawing board of, somebody does something in the post game and somebody's mad and there's whatever. Last week you're smoking cigars. You got Devontae Adams is playing Nerf basketball and doing Josh McDaniels impersonations, and everybody's laughing. I expect the Raiders. I don't think it's going to be a 30-6 win, but I do think it will be a demonstrative enough 27-17 type win where the ending and the outcome is never in doubt.
Here's the soft underbelly of the Jets defense. Rush yards per attempt. They are 22nd in the NFL.
Oh, well, and your boy Jacobs, it's time for him to eat.
Exactly. Feed the beast the rock, and he wants it. The one thing I loved about Antonio Pierce right off the bat, he asked input of the players, including Josh Jacobs. He said, what types of plays do you like to run? What types of plays you feel give you the best chance to succeed? And he looked for his input. This is a 4-year veteran, for crying out loud. This is a holdover from the John Gruden days. This is a guy who has watched everything, all the world crumbling around him, and he has managed to weather the storm. This is a guy who was non-tendered for his extension and then held out. And, he's come back from the brink. He's a leader, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, right? I mean, this guy, he slept in his freaking car when he was in high school with his father and his younger brother. I mean, he's gone through hell and back. So, yes, absolutely look for his input. We all know the issues with the Jets. No offensive line, poor quarterback play, suspect offensive coordinator in Nathaniel Hackett, who was brought in from a failed 1 year at Denver. They're near the bottom in every offensive category, and their defense obviously is solid, but they can be exposed on the ground. Like we talked about, they face a newly rejuvenated Las Vegas Raiders team with their new head coach, offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback, and a fan base who has, by all accounts, if you read social media and believe social media, they have gobbled up 77% of the tickets for tonight's game, coming off a drubbing 30-6 against the other bad New York team. This is a must-win. Dare I say this is a must-win for both teams, but especially for Vegas to keep the momentum going. Yeah. They cannot let this good vibe go away, Freddie D. They can't let it go to waste by laying an egg against a bad team. I'm sorry, this is the worst 4-4 team I've ever seen in the New York Jets on national television. The key to the Raiders, like we talked about, feed Josh Jacobs the ball, get the ball to the other playmakers, including Devontae Adams, get the tight end Michael Mayer, who is a fucking beast when he has the ball. He's basically you can't tackle him when he gets the ball. When he gets
one request tonight. Feed Jacoby Myers. I need Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, he take care of the football like he did last week. Aiden O'Connell was very efficient with the football. No interceptions. More importantly, no sacks. So
That's huge.
If the defense, if they can take advantage of that terrible offensive line, they sacked Daniel Jones last week 8 times, forced 3 turnovers. If they can do that,
ACL.
What's that?
They ruined his ACL. That's how much
they ruined him. I mean, they ruined the Giants' season. They're not going to win a game the rest of the year. So they've got to take care of business, and I think they will.
There you have it, folks. Mike and I are pretty much in cahoots on damn near everything. We see we don't see eye to eye on Denver, Buffalo, and we don't see eye to eye on Cincinnati, Houston as well. We kind of do, and then we don't see eye to eye on Jacksonville. So but that's okay. You know what? That's what makes for good conversation. Mike, have a wonderful day enjoying the games. You and I will certainly be in contact throughout the course of the day. I want to thank every single person who tuned into the show today. Hopefully, you guys liked a little pregame. We may start making this part of the deal because I kind of like the pregame as opposed to the postgame because you're a lot fresher and you haven't seen anything yet. So the emotions haven't set in to how angry we would be throughout the course of the day. So be sure to follow Mike at the Bit of Mike. Follow me at the Freddy D. And of course, don't forget to follow Chief Studios as well on YouTube and all that good stuff. So for the one, the only Bit of Mike, I'm still that dude, Freddie D. Shout out to our boy Tab as well. Enjoy the NFL games today. Enjoy the football. We'll see you on Wednesday. Good night. God bless.
See ya.
Boom.